Good evening and welcome to Sunday Politics and Trust TV, where we break down politics, policy and governance. I'm Shafiu Suleiman. Tonight, we review the National Assembly by-election held across some federal constituencies. The supplementary poll was seen as a test to INEC's credibility and a chance for political actors to gauge their strength ahead of 2027. We'll look at how INEC fared, the conduct of politicians, and the role of voters and other stakeholders. Joining me is Barrister Buhari Yusuf, a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Also on the program tonight, President Tinubu's government faces growing criticism over what many call underperformance, despite claims of bold reforms. We'll be speaking live from London with Barrister Daniel Buwala, a special advisor to the President on Public Policy Communication. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much for staying with us on Sunday Politics. And just like I announced earlier, we have Barrister Buhari Yusuf, a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Together we'll be looking at the just concluded by-elections across 16 states, 12 states rather, 16 constituencies of National Assembly. Thank you very much for joining the conversation tonight.
Happy to be with you.
Right. Let's just go straight into this. I'm sure you must have monitored, what happened across some states. Let me get your general overview of the conduct of the Saturday's by-elections.
Okay. Having introduced me as a legal practitioner, I have to give legal context to the exercise. Section 68 sub 1, combined reading with section 109 sub 1, laid out the process and the reason why by-elections are triggered, particularly in National Assembly or state election, state assemblies. The processes are laid out, the reason why, what happened either is elicited by declaration of a seat of a member or a senator, or by death of a member, or other related issues that elicit this kind of process. So it's a creation of the law, the entire exercise. Having watched, let me start with the happening in northern Nigeria, and particularly the traditional political headquarters of northern Nigeria, which is Kaduna. We have seen, escalation in the maintenance of the political structure. Yes, a bit of improvement within the southern zone of Kaduna by the APC, which is the ruling party, and then the performance of the opposition, to be candid, has not given a positive signal as to their readiness for proper contestation.
Yeah, even though the opposition did mention, ADC to be specific, that the outcome of the election shouldn't be used as a yardstick to measure their strength, because quite a number of their candidates were even not on the ballot. That's one. And then two, they talk about the fact that the atmosphere in which the election was conducted would not give a fair assessment of their strength. I wanted you to talk about, for instance, what actually transpired. We've seen how in some states there were arrests made, of politicians and even officials of INEC and even security personnel, allegedly compromising the exercise. That's one. For instance, in Kaduna, there was an arrest of a party chieftain with over 25 million naira.
Yes.
Another arrest was made, I think, in Oyo, thereabout, of also party chieftains and INEC officials, allegedly. So, looking at this, and then the violence that was said to have, come with the election in quite a number of constituencies, like in Bagwai, in Kano, in Kaduna, in Edo, and other places. Do you think this is enough to assess?
Well, I think there are a lot and enough evidences to evaluate the performance of the political parties as they were. If you now raise the issue of alleged corruption practice, and particularly the arrest in Kaduna, it boils down to one of the opposition parties whose performance does not in any way show their readiness. And I talk about Kaduna because I really monitor Kaduna, expecting a combustible effect because of the residency of the opposition. But what I saw was, lukewarm attitude by the opposition, lack of readiness. Somebody might forgive the poor showing of the opposition only to the presence of the state governor, who I think is breaking barriers and getting into other part of Kaduna State that were hitherto
seem to be maybe marginalized.
Yes, marginalized, and the rest of them. And then the president of the speaker, a very prominent citizen, that again, that is what they call the three musketeers in Kaduna political permutation. The governor, like I say, is trying, and the speaker too, he's becoming a serious grassroots politician. And then there is the presence of Lawal Samaila Kawada, who is a political mechanic, the former secretary to the government, and
appointee of the current administration.
And thank you very much. So I think they were able to give the opposition a run for their money. And little evidences to me that I saw what happened, or I watched what happened, of political malpractices, because look at the gap. And it is a simple election arithmetic. You can have the leeway to rig where your presence is very prominent. So issue of rigging, I think they have an opportunity to test the legitimacy of the election in court. But I want to say this, that the opposition would rather use, I advise they rather use their performance by the outcome of this election. And it is a near consensus that the opposition is more vocal than action. And it gives this impression that they are not quite organized, their structures are not cohesive, and their ability to relate among themselves has not shown any positive result. You brought the issue of Kano State. I think NPP reasonably is being able to show its dominance, not only dominating the political spectrum there in Kano, but they have been able to maintain their escalation dominance in so many areas. Don't forget, one of the constituencies lost by APC. It's a constituency that is peopled by the Senate, Deputy Senate President, the former chairman of the party, and host of other political juggernauts. But they were cleared. So I think that one too is following the normal Kano traditional political terrain, the normal average of the mentality of an average Kano voter who is always anti-establishment. So it has been a recorded history.
Right. Looking at the general outcome of the exercise, for instance, because if you're talking about NMPP in Kano, for instance, and then you're also talking about ADC earlier. Yes. If you look at the distribution of the results, the APC, the ruling party, won 12 out of the 16. PDP won 2. Yes. And then NMPP won, ADC won, for instance. Looking at this, 12 against 4, thereabout, for the opposition. Yes. And then if you just oppose it with the claims, by the ADC, for instance, I've read through the release, by the spokesperson, who alleged that electioneering or conduct of election is deteriorating under the watch of President Bola Tinubu. In fact, he talked about the re-emergence of some of those, malpractices such as ballot snatching, such as open ballot, vote buying, and all of that, as retrogression, so to speak. Would you agree that there's some semblance of the ruling party now taken, or manipulating the process as they allege?
Well, I wouldn't be quite comfortable to make that kind of one allegation because I don't have material evidence to support the allegation. And if it is anything, the state will take the example of Kano. APC lost, a party that is the ruling party in the country. They have the control of the police, all the instrument of cohesion, yet they lost. And when you go to Anambra State, people expected that, of course, Abga will win, and Abga won. When you go to Oyo State, you saw what happened. So I want to believe that reasonably, there is observation to me, there is compliance with the electoral law. But we always have this opportunity of testing the accusation and the allegation of any political infractions in court. So for now, we are in a way inhibited by the fact that they will have an opportunity to test the veracity of their allegations in court. I will agree to some extent that yes, there are a bit of areas that need to be upscaled in the management of our election, and I think the attendant enactment and amendments to our constitution and our electoral laws will enhance this. But you are dealing with a typical Nigerian who hardly lose and accept to have lost. Okay, take example of Kaduna again. Look at the combination of the forces that superintended the election, led by the governor. Tell me one person in Kaduna that has the requisite, force of authority or power or financial structure that will counter them, giving into the belief that election is not just time and money consuming, it requires structural redirection. So when you look at it, I think to me, the opposition should use this their performance, as a kind of litmus test, as to sit down and see, is it enough for us to be visiting one radio station and television station or what have you, one after the other, without sitting down to build on the solidity of our structure? And
but they relocated to their constituencies. We've seen, in the build-up to the election, to the by-election, we've seen them, across their constituencies campaigning for the candidates. Quite a number of them also pooled, crowds. If you looked at the scenario, like in Sokoto, for instance, we've seen Tambuwal, in spite of his current travel, was able to pull massive supporters and what have you. Okay, but then let me get your assessment, because quite a number of people are worried. In spite of the investment in the electoral reforms, in this country, the fact that vote buying, or ballot box snatching, and things like that, are beginning. Are still a feature of our election. What does it say about whether we're getting it right or wrong in terms of, the needed reforms that we need?
Just like I said, there is this urgent need for practicalizing the reforms so far initiated, but there are certain elements that it's traditional to our politicking. Since 1979, we've had the issue of election material snatching. We have a bit of hooliganism. Depending on your strength in a particular place, a lot will do it, I will not complain. It is when they become victims. I am not here saying that the by-election conducted was a total success, but to me, it's reasonably reflected the aspiration of the people, and particularly when you take the socio-political research of the areas where the elections were conducted. And I brought the issue of Kano. The incumbency factor assisted greatly. And like I said, the mentality of average Kano voter is anti-establishment. And to them, anti-establishment is the federal government. And I think the APC is losing glaringly in Kano. And if APC would have will complain that they were outraged in Kano, then we begin to look for the definition of rigging, because they
but don't you think also there are factors that could have led to that? We are quite aware of what happened recently. The national chairman of the party, who happens to come from Kano, how he was treated. His exit, unceremonious exit, many will say, and then even going by the statement of the president, for instance, congratulating the winners of this exercise, you know, he attributed the success to the current chairman, national chairman of the party, who was just been appointed. So doesn't this also show that the party seems to be in disarray in Kano, and perhaps that's the reason why they are losing ground?
And you know, when I read the statement from the president, while he asked presidentially, but having, if he had said anything opposite what he said, that could have questioned the legitimacy of the election, and of course questioning the legitimacy of those areas that his party won. So it was like, okay, there was an exercise, and the exercise might not be 100%, but was it, or is it a reflection of what the expectation of the people? Reasonably, yes. But like I said, there are a lot more to be added to it, a lot more. The money politics, I think, is becoming well entrenched in our society, owing to the economic hardship that is prevalent in our society. That cannot be discounted. But who is that political leader in Nigeria that is free of, or he cannot be cited as one of the culprits? Any of the political parties is issue of, you know, an advantage that is being used by somebody who probably has more space around that to utilize it. But certain areas, okay, like I keep on bringing the issue of Kano, Southern Kaduna. We know the hostility of APC, of Southern Kaduna against APC, but look at the gap. The gap they defeated ADC and
in other words, you believe that the change in political dynamics in the state, especially around governance, perhaps may have made APC to have, I mean, this momentum that it is having.
Yes. Okay. One of the opposition leaders, El-Rufai, is from Zaria. But look at what happened in Zaria. And like I told you, there is this combination of political musketeers in Kaduna. I mentioned their names, and I think they are not taking it. They are not taking it as a game, as just a mere. They look at it as a personal war to make sure that they maintain their turf, and they are not leaving any issue unattended in that respect.
Even though this I mean, looking at the scale of the election, perhaps some would say it gives room also for, you know, deploying all the necessary resources. It might not be the same story when it comes to general elections. Yeah,
it might not be the same story because the war will be so decentralized that to your tent or Israelites, everyone will have a war right in his constituency. But like I said, to me, opposition should examine what happened and look at where these areas that are quite upbeat, and begin to strategize. Okay. But just going on this slogan of opposition, we want to bring down this, we want to do that, is not enough. There must be material preparation and solid structure to sustain what they are talking about.
Right. So the outcome should give them that, I mean, it should be studied.
It should be studied, and now look at where the loopholes are manifested and what to do and to make sure that they are covered. Right. But just like you said, is that an election process that can be seen to be 100% success story? Of course, no.
Okay, yeah, to a very large extent, it also tests, you know, the level of, I mean, the integrity of the electoral process, you know. Quite a number of concerns around INEC handling of the exercise and the previous ones. How do you think, you know, INEC can strengthen this, this conviction around its integrity and, of course, neutrality in the process going forward?
I don't expect every officer of INEC to be neutral, but maybe objective. That will serve a little purpose.
So is there neutrality cannot be achieved 100%?
Cannot be achieved 100% because we are dealing with human beings, with all the attendant emotional and sentimental behavior of a human being in a certain situation. But this exercise should not give us a classical view of what happened to examine INEC, because the election is very, the constituencies are not quite many. If it were an American system of midterm election, that would have given us a national outlook.
Right.
And
but these constituencies are spread across states, 12 states of the federation.
12 states of the federation,
yeah.
less than 30% of the population. And look at...
Well, shouldn't that be the more reason why INEC should be able to get it right? Because there is limited number of constituencies to handle. Yeah. And again, it also gives you the ample opportunity to deploy the necessary logistics.
Yes, of course, INEC too will have a lot to learn from what happened. Right. A lot, particularly complaints from political party that is government controlled, that eat fat on the patronage of the federal government, but they are complaining. I think they need to take this self-interrogation and begin to see whether indeed complaints that came out after the election were genuine. Right. And improvement in election management is a daily affair.
Continuum, right?
Because we cannot have a perfect outcome of a product of a human being, but rooms should be allowed for people to really ventilate their anger and to talk about her. But I don't buy the idea of people calling for cancellation after the announcement of election. That will run foul of the
synonymous with the process.
Yes, virtually. That will be foul. It will run foul of the electoral law.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barrister. I think we have to come to the end of this segment of the conversation. I hope it's a developing issue. We get you to come back in soon so that we can also further on this as the outcome continue to generate.
Yes, I really appreciate this. Yes, and wish you all the best.